Hey guys, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about something I've seen blowing up on the internet a bit lately, and that's the new KelTec RDB that is now mostly available to the general public. I've seen a lot of videos comparing the RDB versus the Tavor, and wanted to give you my thoughts on those. I've been shooting the Tavor here for the better part of a year now, and I'm really pleased with it. This isn't the stock Tavor, as you can tell. I've had some paint work done here. I also have a Geisley trigger pack in it. I just didn't like the factory trigger, so I wanted to modify it. And as you can see, I've got a Omega a Silencer Co. 3-baffle brake on it for my Silencer Co. Omega. One of these days I'll get my Form 4 back so I can actually take it home, but for now it lives in NFA jail. So let's talk about the two guns here. I really like the Tavor. I like the ergonomics on it. It feels good in my hands. It's got a nice weight to it. It's got a nice balance to it. You can't hold an AR-15 back here like this. It just doesn't work that way. So it's got a good weight and good balance to it. The weight tends to be a little bit more towards the front on this gun, whereas on the RDB it feels a little bit more centered over the middle here, which I do like. The RDB is slightly lighter than the Tavor. The Tavor comes in at 7.9 pounds and the RDB is 7, so small difference there. In terms of ergonomics, I have had no problems running this gun. I think it's fairly comfortable, especially if you're going to shoot it right-handed. Obviously I'm holding it left. In this case you're just going to catch brass in the face, which I've actually cut my chin shooting this gun left-handed. I've had brass casings come out and hit me in the chin and actually cut me. So that's not fun. But this gun, I like the ergonomics as well. I've seen a lot of folks have issues knocking magazines out accidentally with this. I haven't had that problem. I've got fairly decent sized hands. I'm 6'4", but you guys with huge hands, you might want to be careful about that. I really dig the H&K style charging handle. Just come up and slap it. You get a nice close there. I can dig that. The H&K style safety as well. This gun is designed to be fully ambi, which I really like. I'm actually a left-hand shooter, but I've taught myself to shoot right so I can actually enjoy a lot of the bullpups. I've got a couple other bullpups as well, and they just work better when you shoot right-handed. So overall, I like the ergonomics. I like the way this feels in my hand. The pistol grip is nice. The forend is a nice width. I wish it was a little thinner, but overall it feels good in the hands. So, KelTec did a great job with this. If we look at the triggers, so I talked about how I already replaced the trigger in the Tavor because the factory trigger was just terrible. The one that I got was pulling around 9.5, 10 pounds. So that just wasn't going to do it for me. This trigger here is definitely better than a standard USGI mil-spec trigger. It is a 2-stage trigger here. You see, I'll take up the first part here, and then you get a wall. There's a little bit of creep, and it actually breaks. It is by far the best factory bullpup trigger I've felt, and I fired pretty much all of them. I own all of them except the Desert Tech, which isn't out yet. But you get about 1 pound to get to the wall, slight amount of creep, and then it breaks, and it's about 3.5, 4 pounds to actually break it on this gun. As I said, I have the Geisley Suppressor trigger pack in this. This is much more like a match grade trigger. Essentially, it's about 1.5 pounds to get here, no creep, bang, and it just goes. The reset on this trigger is very nice as well. Very little over travel as well. So, stock bullpup trigger, KelTec did a fantastic job with this. No complaints there at all. the Tavor, if you aren't interested in replacing any trigger packs or anything like that, if you don't want to spend any extra money, you just want to buy the rifle, the Kel-Tec definitely wins in this regard. Pushing on, recoil. So I wouldn't normally bring that up. Everyone knows what a 223 or 556 gun recoil is like, but because of the way the Kel-Tec is designed, it has a weird recoil impulse. Essentially, the way the gun is operated, when you're running it normally, the magazine's here, barrel of course starts here, but the empty shell casings are ejected here. So what that means is the bolt, which normally would be home here, has to travel all the way past the magazine, hit the back, eject the spent casing, pick up a new round and send it home. So you end up with a two-stage recoil impulse. So the first stage being, you fire the gun, there's a bang, you get the recoil. But as the bolt ends up going, because it travels so far, the length of time is actually perceptible. It hits the back, pops the barrel up. The bolt takes the new shell or the new bullet into the chamber, and you actually feel the gun settle back on target. It's an interesting recoil experience. I don't particularly like it. I'm not a fan of having it be in two stages like that. It's nice that it sends it back on target more or less, but I guess if you spend a lot of time practicing with it, you could actually learn to run the gun in such a way that you would just wait for it to come home, bring you back on target with that momentum, and then pull the trigger again. But I just think it's weird, and I'm not a big fan of the way the gun recoils. The Tavor, shoots just like any other style bullpup in terms of recoil. It's pretty minimum. I mean, we know the 5.56 isn't a big bullet, so just like any other gun really. Here's where it all starts to fall apart for the Kel-Tec, and that is the accuracy and reliability of the actual gun itself. So we know the track record of the Tavor, right? It's been used by the Israeli Special Forces. This gun's been in a lot of combat, it's seen a lot of abuse, and it's done really well. In fact, this gun here, I've got 1,500 to 2,000 rounds through it, and I've never had any kind of misfunctions. No jams, no double feeds, no anything like that. So I've had extremely good success with this gun here. The RDB was an absolute nightmare to get running. Again, because of the way the bolt is designed and the way the gun is set up, if the gun isn't gassed perfectly, you're going to have a hard time with this gun running properly. So it came from the factory way under gassed. It was short stroking big time, and this gun short stroking is an absolute nightmare. What ends up happening, you fire the gun, the bolt comes back, it's got the extra shell casing, and if it doesn't hit the back hard enough to actually complete the extraction process, you now have an empty shell casing going up and grabbing, the bolt will actually grab another new bullet, and now you've got both of them wedged in this space here, and you can't simply clear it by ripping on the charging handle. You actually have to fully disassemble, there's 3 pins here, really only need these 2, to pull this section out and fish all the crap out of the gun. The first time it did that to me, the second bullet, I fired. It took me a little over a minute to clear the malfunction. And that proceeded to happen. It took me about 60 rounds or so to fully get the gas system dialed in. If you're familiar with Kel-Tec, the gas system is adjustable up here, but it's not like a SCAR or some of the other piston-driven guns where it's off, normal firing, and suppressed. There's about 50 detents in this gas system here, about every 1/8 of a turn. And so it took me a bit, turning one at a time, to figure out where the gun ran best. I had a bad experience with my RFB from Kel-Tec, which is the 308 version, which actually has a forward ejecting system in it. If you overgas that gun, the empty casing will not make it into the small, fragile channel, and it ended up self-disassembling on me. The inside of the gun had to be repaired with pliers and everything to get it working again. Essentially, the shell casing missed the little channel, chewed up all the metal on the inside, and it made horrible noises, trying to rack it and whatnot. So I had to pull the whole thing apart, straighten it all back out. So the last thing I wanted to do was figure out how fragile this gun was by overgassing it, so I only turned it up in small increments. Once I was able to get it gassed right, the gun ran pretty fine. I've got about 500 rounds through it. It took me, like I said, about 60 to get it running properly. And after that, it's been good. But to get it there, if you don't have the patience, it's not going to be fun. Running this gun suppressed compared to this one. Oh, sorry. Let's talk about accuracy. So we talked about track record. We talked about reliability. Now let's talk about the accuracy. This is the continuation of the big miss from Kel-Tec. So the RFB, again, the 308 bullpup from them, was supremely accurate. I could put 5 rounds through the same bullet hole in paper, at 25 yards all day, every day. Hell, you could even sneeze while you were shooting it and it would still end up through the same bullet hole like magic. This gun, you couldn't pay me enough money to stack bullets with it. I thought it was just me, but as I see more and more videos coming out, they're all saying about the same thing. And that's really disappointing. They're getting 2.5 to 3 MOA out of this gun, and that's roughly what I saw too. It just was very, very disappointing. I like a gun to be accurate, and when it's not, it just doesn't excite me. I put my 500 rounds to this gun, and because of the accuracy, I probably won't shoot it anymore. It's going to end up sitting in the safe, collecting dust and fingerprints. Right? I'm just not going to be bothered. If I can't make the bullet go where I want, it's not worth the, as the shooting of this video, 35 cents per trigger pull to waste the bullet, as far as I'm concerned. So really disappointed with that. That's not something anyone has talked about in the reviews until kind of more recently. All the T&E guns were 1 in 9 twist barrels, so they were using heavier weight bullets. This is a production gun, and I also have a 1 in 9 twist barrel. So I had to go out and get some 62 grain match ammunition to try it out, and it still couldn't do any better than 3 MOA. And those were from a bench rest with really good trigger presses. Just no matter what I did, I just couldn't get it to stack anything. It did get better as the gun broke in. Just for whatever reason, I think it likes to be dirty more so than clean. But couldn't get the accuracy out of it I was really hoping for. The RFB was so accurate. I was so excited for this gun, for it to be as accurate in a 5.56, because I did enjoy shooting the KelTec RFB when it worked right. So major disappointment there. The Tavor with the Geisley trigger pack in it is awesomely accurate. I went from having a hard time getting bullets on target accurately to now this thing will have 5 bullets all touching. Now they're not through the same hole, and it's not that accurate, but they are certainly touching. You might get a fly or two, but this is a lot more accurate with the better trigger in it. So I'm happy with this. Originally I was actually in the same place as I was with the KelTec with the factory trigger, just because I was having a hard time putting bullets in the same spot. I just wasn't interested in shooting it, and I ended up originally with a Timney trigger pack that actually failed. The head sheared off the hammer while I was actually out running and gunning with it, and that was a frightening experience. All of a sudden my gun was dead, and there was a horrible rattly noise on the back end of it here as the hammer head was just rolling around. So Timney said they would replace it, but frankly I wasn't interested in another product that could potentially fail after a design flaw caused the first couple generations of trigger packs to fail. So this one has the guys in it now. Let's talk about suppressing the guns for a minute. As you can see, I've got the 3 baffle break on there from Silencer Co. We talked about that. This gun, the Tavor, shooting it suppressed is absolutely miserable. Cannot stand it. Because the gas system is not adjustable, 2 different ends of the spectrum, right? This one is supremely adjustable, and this one is not at all. Need a happy medium here. Gun makers, come on. There's just an epic amount of gas that comes out of the port right here. Your face is right here. Essentially, you need swimming goggles to shoot this thing to keep all the gas coming out of the back of the gun from going in your eyes. My eyes were watering. They hurt for the rest of the day. I'm actually going to pull that 3-baffle brake off so I can put it someplace else more useful. So I do not recommend a Tavor if you plan to suppress. Just not a pleasant experience. The RDB actually is fantastic for a suppressed bullpup. The adjustable gas system, I actually didn't make any changes to the gas system, so I did overgas the gun for a small period of time while I shot it with a can on the front. You get a lot of gas coming out here, and then any extra gas actually ends up coming out of the bottom of the gun where the empty casings come out, which is awesome. Running this gun quickly with a can is no problem at all. Shooting prone, no problem at all. There's enough space for the gas to get evacuated out of the way. So that is a big win for the Kel-Tec. Despite the accuracy, maybe maybe you don't care so much about that, but you do want to run suppress. Maybe your philosophy of use for this gun is home defense, sub 50 yard, whatever it might be, and you want it to be quiet. This would be a really good gun for that. So just to wrap this up, we talked about a bunch of the different things. The design and ergos, the trigger, the recoil, the accuracy, running with a can. Final thoughts, the pros for the Tavor, it's got a proven track record, right? We know that what the gun's capable of. It's been out there for a while, so I really like that. In the event that something's shit hits the fan, whatever it might be, I want something I'm gonna be able to count on. It's also simple to use, right? There's no gas system to mess with. You throw the mag in, you rack it, you're ready to go. On the downside, it's not ambidextrous, right? Not easily. You can get a left-hand bolt for it. You can move the charging handle. You can switch the safety around. It is doable, but you can't do it in the field. It's actually a different bolt you need to order. It's just not quick, right? If you had to shoot offhand for whatever reason, you're going to have a bad time for those rounds you have to shoot offhand. The weight, this is slightly heavier, 0.9 pounds. It makes a difference. And then the trigger, right? The other downside is the trigger. It's easily replaceable. It's 2 pins, comes right out. But if you don't want to spend the money, I can understand that. The RDB, it is definitely lighter, and it's got the great trigger from the factory. Nice job on that, Kel-Tec. Definitely better than any USGI trigger in a standard mil-spec AR. It's by no means a match trigger in an AR. If you go buy a Geisley SSA or SSAE, it's going to be a better trigger. But this is damn good for being a bullpup. The ergonomics are nice. The magazine, while being slightly forward, actually helps with the reload. I found, when you're operating the gun, for an AR, you can actually see everything that's going on, and then you get the magazine in. It's easy for reloads. For the Tavor, it's a bit difficult if you don't have this in your line of sight to actually get the magazine back in, right? You got to bring it up and then shove it in here. For me, the way the mag setup is on this gun, it's actually in my line of sight while I'm looking at the rifle, which is nice if you're actually moving around and running with it. Those couple inches, while they might not seem like much, actually help big time. The downside, the poor accuracy, that ruins it for me. I just can't get the enjoyment out of it that I seek, right? I really like shooting accurately, and this gun just doesn't do it. The recoil impulse, I talked about that. Frustrating. Even shooting from a bench rest, the gun likes to jump a bit. And come on, Kel-Tec, what are you doing? Where are the QD mounts on this thing? What, all these swivels? I mean, I can appreciate that you gave provisions for a sling, but no QD. This is 2015, almost 2016. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, but I would have liked to have seen QD options for this. So at the end of the day, if I could only have one bullpup, I wholesale would buy a Tavor. There's no probably. This is the gun that I would have if I could only have one bullpup. Obviously, I bought both, but I don't plan to shoot the Kel-Tec any more than I have the 500 rounds that I put through it to break it in and give it a fair test. it might come out, you know, as a range toy. Someone wants to see it. Oh, what's that? But for the most part, I'm just not interested. So for me personally, because of the accuracy and the track record, the Tavor wins. But hey, that's what's great about America. You get to pick what works for you. This might be the gun for you. And if you don't care about accuracy, otherwise, this is a fantastic gun too. Once you get it working, make sure you're patient enough to get it going, and then I don't think you'll be disappointed with that. And I see a lot of guys that actually like the recoil impulse that comes out of this gun. I've seen a lot of folks talk about it, say, oh, it has no recoil at all. I don't necessarily agree there, but you know, everyone's got their opinion on it. If you get a chance to fire one, I definitely think you should, especially if you can compare them back to back. It'll be an interesting experience for you. Anyway, I appreciate it. You having a watch. If you've got any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them all for you. Thank you so much.